No shortage of anxiety in the Coliseum tonight as Notre Dame falls behind 10-0, battles back, scores late in the first half, and really takes control in the second half en route to a 24-17 victory over USC, finishing 12-0 during the regular season and securing a spot in the playoffs. The specifics from here still remain to be seen with the conference championship games, but Notre Dame, the resilience that they've showed all year, it came through once again at the most difficult and clutch time of the season.
USC came to play. They had the defense on skates. I mean, Julian Love talked about it. Brian Kelly mentioned, we had to adjust. They had to not give those free releases they're giving in the first half. But ultimately, it comes down to the defense always makes choices, and they refuse to get beat by big plays by USC. They didn't allow anything over their heads, and it's enough to win the game. I think sometimes they just have realized we're a really good D, got to pick our poison once in a while, and it worked out. And boy, was it frustrating for people watching it first, because if you're sitting there watching it thinking you at least have to tackle them in those situations. And really, in the second half, Notre Dame just played much better defense, much more confident defense.
Yeah. It is frustrating, but it is part of the plan. I mean, the USC came into this game with a reputation, a well-earned reputation, that they're going to take big shots down the field. Notre Dame would not allow them to do that, so that means a ton of underneath routes, and it gave JT Daniels an opportunity to get rolling and get a lot of confidence. And he was 26 for 31 by halftime. But in the second half, they took away a lot of those easy access throws, to use the term that Brian Kelly did. And then offensively, they had to make some adjustments as well. USC they were blitzing on passes. They were run blitzing as well. They were bringing the will linebacker, so they had to ad-lib a little bit. It wasn't until recent weeks that Dexter Williams has started to become an important part of the passing game. He was huge tonight, and then Tony Jones Jr. put the seal on it.
Jones had completely disappeared from the passing game since the Vanderbilt game, where he was kind of highlighted in it, and these last 2 weeks he's had that was the most important touchdown running right down the sideline behind me of the season, and then of course he had a pretty conversion last week. Yeah, they weren't going to only be able to line up and run the ball in the second half, but they knew they needed the backs, and they could slow down that blitz by hitting the backs out of the backfield. Look, we joke about the extension of the running game. That's what it had to be today, and it was really Chip Long find a way in the second half. They could have pulled away there when Ian Book threw the interception in the end zone. That's something he's going to have to learn from, because that really did give USC a shot. But the defense answered consecutive sacks and took control of the game. It's
really a terrible mistake by Ian Book there in a situation where Justin Yoon has a 39-yard field goal to give you a 10-point lead. But he did more, as always with Ian Book, he did a heck of a lot more good than he did bad. And this team, again, just found a way to hang in there. And we found it really, really interesting that we thought there was going to be a huge celebration on this field after the game. And, that just was not the case. I kept looking for it, and it just was not the case. It tells you how resolute this group is, how focused they are. I'm sure the locker room was berserk, of course. But, that's where they chose to celebrate it. Now, I hear the players said, there's more to be done. Well, yeah, you don't play for 5 weeks, but that's just the mindset. And quite frankly, that's why they're 12-0.
Yeah, Sam Mustafer said we don't come to Notre Dame to go to the playoffs. We come to graduate and win championships, and that must have been part of the reason. I think there was probably a little bit of relief when you fall down 10-0. You go up 24-10. You got to grab an onside kick to seal it in a game that you had been. I don't know, they figured they're going to be winning all week long, right? They were the heavy favorites over USC. We know that they thought they were going to handle USC today from what we've heard behind the scenes, and maybe there was a little bit of relief. And no matter what anyone says, what they did in the locker room, we could hear the celebration in the locker room in 2012. We could see them going crazy the whole time. So it was a different reaction. That doesn't mean anything, really. It's just a different group. They handled it well, and as Brian Kelly said, when someone mentioned you're 12-0 2 times in the last 6 years, he kind of added a third one, because he did it at Cincinnati too. That was a nice little tweak of the national media at one point in the press conference.
Right. Would it have been better if Notre Dame won 24-10? Yes. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Notre Dame wins 24-17, and they're going to the playoffs at 12-0.